Great to welcome to our book talk segment today. A woman has written a very helpful book, I'm sure, for many people out there, and it's called This Naked Mind, Control Alcohol, Find Freedom, Discover Happiness, and Change Your Life. We're joined today by Annie Grace on the telephone. And Annie, good to talk with you. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Good to have a chance to chat with you for a few minutes. I had an opportunity to read through the book, and a bit autobiographical of yourself, but really a lot of great information in there about how you overcame the alcohol problem and how you can help others. So it's a great title for a book, by the way, This Naked Mind. I like that.
No, thank you very much.
Talk a little bit about, obviously, your story. You grew up in the Aspen, Colorado area and very successful as a marketing career, and then you found that, I guess, social drinking kind of became a problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was very young in my career, and I didn't drink a ton in college, but, it certainly wasn't, it was an occasional thing, not an everyday thing. And then in my career, it was basically very important it was sales meetings, conferences, networking, and alcohol was a huge part of it, but that very quickly translated into my personal life. So instead of, dealing with my stress at the end of the day by putting on my running shoes, I was pouring a glass of wine.
Yeah, it wasn't a case of, you went out to bars or, that kind of drinking. It was basically in the business setting, and one drink became two, and then I guess you found at home that you needed more, right? Is that kind of how it escalated for yourself?
Yeah, exactly. I think you develop a tolerance over time, and then I realized that, it made me feel more relaxed in the moment. And so if I was dealing with anything stressful, it certainly seemed easier to pour a drink. I didn't realize it was happening. And so when I kind of 10 years later realized, wow, I'm drinking more than I ever intended, it was surprising. I didn't quite know how I'd gotten there, to be completely honest.
And while you were, doing this, you were still able to function pretty well. Obviously, at the time, you probably thought you were okay, but you were able to work pretty well during this time until you kind of had a realization moment, or was it a gradual realization?
Yeah, it was a realization moment. I was in London with my two kids and my husband, and I had been out with coworkers the night before, and I had quite a rough hangover, and so I'd put a beer or two in my purse so that we could take them to the park for lunch, and I dropped my purse, and the beer exploded all over my two young children. And so we're trying to laugh, but it was actually quite painful and upsetting to me. And I just realized, wow, this isn't who I want to be. And yeah, it was completely functional. Most people when I stopped drinking said, wait, I never even really saw you drunk. Yeah. So it wasn't a typical story. It was just really that it was taking from me what I didn't want to give alcohol anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, the alcohol problem, you wind up, in a gutter somewhere, and obviously that sadly happens to some people, but I guess the majority of people, that isn't the case. It's like what you went through, kind of gradually, and then all of a sudden you realize, I got to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, this idea of being in the gutter somewhere keeps us almost from questioning it, because we're like, well, certainly I don't have a problem. I've never missed any work. I've never driven drunk. And so you say, well, there's no issue here. And we don't ask the question. We use that as our litmus test instead of just asking the simple question, like, would I be a bit happier? Would my life be better if I wasn't drinking so much? We ask this scary question, do I have a problem, or am I an alcoholic? And the truth is, most regular drinkers aren't, but they're also drinking at levels that probably, their life would be better if they drank a bit less.
Yeah. Well, once you had this, your own personal realization moment, what did you do to kind of get help for yourself? And then kind of leading into the book, did you write down what you went through to kind of put this book together? What was that process like?
Yeah, it was basically exactly like that. I realized I could stop drinking, but every time I did, I felt deprived. I felt like I was missing out, and I had this moment of, well, wait a second, it wasn't always this way. I have lots of memories where I didn't need alcohol to relax or have a good time. And so I went on this quest of understanding, well, what exactly was happening? Why did I feel this need to drink something I no longer really wanted to drink? And I undertook a year's worth of research sort of into what alcohol does in my brain and in my body, and just thinking through all of these things. Didn't try to stop drinking during that year. And at the end of the year, the beliefs had really let go of me that had been keeping me drinking. So I put out my journals at the time for just sort of free download online, got 20,000 downloads in 3 weeks, started getting letters from all over the world. And I said, I got to make this a book. So that's how that came to be.
Yeah, the way you write it, again, personal stories of yourself, and interspersed with with how people can hopefully stop drinking, but kind of the beliefs people have that excuses I guess people make, right, to keep drinking. I can stop anytime I want, that kind of thing, or it's going to affect other parts of my life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the big ones, at least for me, was that idea of relaxation. And so a huge turning point for me was realizing that, there are 30 minutes where you have a drink, your blood alcohol is rising, and you feel that sense of euphoria. That's followed by 2 to 3 hours of your blood alcohol falling when your body actually releases adrenaline and cortisol, and you feel a sense of dis-ease and discomfort. And so when you realize that you're trading 30 minutes for 2 to 3 hours, and then you drink the next drink to kind of come back from that low that the alcohol created, it's a huge turning point. In the next time you reach for a glass of wine to relax, you realize, wow, this is not really a sustainable relaxation technique. Yeah. And then, the desire kind of leaves.
Well, once you went through your own personal treatment, or however you did it, did you find that urge left you right away? I know some people say they never want to drink again once they stop. Others battle with it a lot. How has it been for you?
Yeah, for me, it really, I even say that I drink kind of as much as I want whenever I want. I just don't want to drink. I just haven't wanted to drink in 3 years. And it's just not about rules for me, because I feel like as soon as you put a rule on something, it's sort of like going on a diet and then French fries and ice cream is the most attractive food on the planet. I try to want to avoid that.
I was going to say, have you gotten, obviously, the feedback from your original blogs you put up, the book coming out now? I would imagine you're going to get a lot of people writing you and giving you their stories, right?
Yes, and I have I've started a podcast. I've started sharing reader stories, and there's so many inspiring stories. I think one of the coolest things is that, there's a lot of support for people who are like, okay, I'm an alcoholic, I have a problem, I need to go to treatment. There's not a lot of support for people who just want to question their drinking but don't really feel like they fit in that category. And so starting to realize that we're not alone in questioning it, because it's a really taboo thing in our culture to question our drinking for some reason. And so when you start to hear other people's stories of like, oh yeah, you're just like me, and you got, now you've changed something in your life for the better, it's really inspiring.
Yeah, it really is. Well, it's a great book, and it's not a kind of a preachy book. I mean, you tell your story and how people can get help. I think that's more important than saying stop. I mean, you got to give people some techniques to stop. So I think that you've definitely succeeded there. Give out your website, Annie, for the book, and also where people can hear the podcast as well.
Oh, great. It's thisnakedmind.com, and the podcast is simply titled This Naked Mind, and it's in health on the iTunes Store and Google Play.
iTunes as well, I guess, so all the sites they can find it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Again, This Naked Mind, Control Alcohol, Find Freedom, Discover Happiness, and Change Your Life is the full title of the book. We've been talking with Annie Grace today. Annie, pleasure talking to you. Hope we can do it again down the road, but congratulations on what you've overcome. I know it's a battle every day, but seems like you got it under control, so we appreciate that. We appreciate your time today. Thanks for being with us.
All right.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or DougMilesMedia.com.